Hi everyone, it's Ati and welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are going to talk about all of the books that I read in January. So before I get into it, I'm going to give you a little bit of some stats. I read a total of 17 books. 4 of those were fantasy books, 4 of those were contemporary books, 2 were romance, 3 were mystery thriller, 1 was a historical fiction, 1 was nonfiction, 2 was in the realm of comic books, graphic novels, or manga. And yeah, so I'm gonna put the little pie chart or donut chart someplace on this screen so you can see the percentage breakdown. But I had a really, I want to say, diverse month and what I was reading. I gave 5 books 5 stars, 10 books 4 stars, and 2 books 3 stars, and I read a total of 6,081 pages. So I would say that, don't mind the birds in the background, January was a very productive reading month. I'm looking forward, I mean, I'm filming this at the end of February, but I know that February, the stats are looking a little different, but yeah, let's jump into it. I was debating whether or not to go from book I read at the top of the month to book I read at the end of the month, or whether to go in rating of like least enjoyable to most enjoyable. But I read a lot of enjoyable books, so I'm just gonna go in order from what I read at the top of the month to what I read at the end of the month. Let's get into it. Alright, so first book I read was A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This is a novel told completely in verse, and it is about this boy. Let me see what his name is. It's about this boy, Will, whose older brother, Sean, is killed due to gun violence, and it's all about 60 seconds. 60 seconds in an elevator, 7 floors, 3 rules, 1 gun, and it is about Will debating whether or not to avenge his brother's death. This is interesting. I gave it 3 stars. I guess I wanted more from it in a way. It's really good. It's really good. When I finished it, I also read it in one sitting. When I finished it, I was kind of like, I don't know, like I want more. It's a little confusing in the beginning, but once you get past, like, I'd say page maybe like 30, I would say, like at least past page 50 probably, it starts to make a lot more sense what is exactly happening. Really good book. I would definitely recommend. Like I said, I gave it 3 stars. Moving on, next book that I finished in January was This Beast of a Book, and this is The Witch Elm by Tana French. I really enjoyed Tana French's writing. This is the first book of hers that I've read in a very long time. I need to get back into it. And she has a series, The Dublin Murder Squad, and this book actually takes place outside of that series that she's created. And it is about this man. Let me refresh my memory. What's his name? Toby. It's about this man, Toby, who has an easygoing, very charming life. He considers himself very lucky. Bad things just don't happen to him until he has to recover from this. He's robbed, essentially. Has to recover from this robbery, and he goes out to his family's, I guess you can call it estate, a little ways away with his girlfriend, and something is uncovered while he is on the family property, and it's all about uncovering that mystery, and it's essentially like a cold case that happened. So that's pretty cool. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I will say it's not a heavy book in terms of like what's talked about, but it is a dense book. They're doing work outside. It is a dense book, so I came out of it with a little bit of brain fog, but that usually happens to me when I read Tana French, or like really thick thriller, psychological thrillers, things like that. But yeah, I would definitely recommend. Next book I finished was one of the first 5-star books of the year. I had no doubt. I absolutely love this book, and of course it is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I don't even know I'm pretty sure my Goodreads review gives you more like cohesive thoughts about what I thought about this, but it was spectacular. And I tried not to go into it with like super high hopes because it is Michelle Obama. I didn't want to set myself up for failure. Like, I know she's great, I know she's highly intelligent, but sometimes that doesn't transfer over to books. It just doesn't, and that's okay. But it transferred over in this case. This didn't read like a memoir, and I'm someone who is a little like about memoirs, but this didn't read like a memoir. It read like straight up literary fiction. She is an amazing writer. I want her to write works of fiction. I kept saying that to myself throughout reading this book. I was like, I need this former lady to write works of fiction, and I will buy anything that she writes. She can write nursery rhymes, I'll buy them. That's where we're at right now. So it's comprised of 3 sections: Becoming Me, which is her journey through childhood, which was just so interesting, so fascinating to find out about her life before the spotlight. The middle section is called Becoming Us, and that chronicles her relationship with President Barack Obama, and before he was president, obviously, when he was like not president, not even doing anything political, but just their journey through that and into the spotlight, and then his presidential election, of course. And then Becoming More is the time after he's first elected president. And it's just so, it was just really nice, and one of my favorite books. I'm so glad I started the year off with this. I was going to read it in December, but I was like, no, this is going to be a perfect book to just start the year off with. It'll be one of the first books I finish in January, and just to set the tone. And I probably will be reading this again sometime maybe in the summer, but yeah, you see, I like have all my little tabs and everything, just, ugh. Alright, next book I finished in January this is kind of an epic love story, and this is about a boy, Nathan Bird. This is about a boy who is kind of reeling from the breakup with his ex-girlfriend, well, girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, who's also his best friend, and kind of dealing with those feelings, but also his childhood crush from, I think when they were 10 maybe? I don't know. His childhood crush, Oliver James, pops up. And not even childhood crush, they were best friends. They were best friends. Something happened between them, and then Oliver James had to move away. He was moving away. And so it's about that kind of reconciliation once Nathan Bird and Oliver James kind of end up going to the same school again, because Oliver James moves back, and just dealing with that interesting dynamic and love story. And it was just so good, and it's so, I don't want to say dark. It's not dark, but there's a lot of realistic themes, and there's a lot of just psychological things that Nathan deals with because of what he's seen in his own family that even a lot of adults don't realize that they're dealing with. So I really appreciated him as a teenager trying to kind of go through that and maneuver that in a really interesting way. And I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I finished a comic book. This is Supergirl Volume 1 in the New 52 universe. This has a name, doesn't it? Yeah, Last Daughter of Krypton. I've read better Supergirl comics. This one just didn't do it for me. It was very lukewarm. I think I'm definitely going to continue this story. Yeah, I'm definitely going to continue this story, and I'll probably end up reading this one again. But for a first read, I was very unenthusiastic, and I'm going to continue reading the story again, simply because some of the things in it are also in the TV show. And so I'm excited to see how this storyline is going to deal with some of those themes and some of those characters that I already know about. But in terms of like a first volume, I kind of wanted more. I understand the first volumes are hard to judge a series by because they set up a lot of introductory things, but I don't know, I wasn't feeling this one that much. It's not bad. I think I'm just really comparing it to other Supergirl comics that I've read. Next book that I finished in January was To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. This is a dark retelling of The Little Mermaid. What? This was absolutely amazing. I loved this. Oh my goodness. I I feel like I should stop at Darky Telling Little Mermaid, but I'll give you a little bit more. So essentially, the main girl, who would be the Little Mermaid, her name is Princess Lyra, and she is a siren, which is essentially what the Little Mermaid is, but Disney had to package it in a very nice, child-friendly way. So Princess Lyra is a siren. She is siren royalty. She is supposed to be the next sea queen, that's her mom, so she's supposed to be the next sea queen, and she does something to upset her mother, so her mother essentially exiles her to the human world unless she can bring back the heart of the infamous siren killer. And so Princess Elian rescues a drowning woman from the ocean, and she promises to help him destroy Sirenkind for good, but he has no way of knowing if he can trust her. And I feel like you can kind of tell what's gonna happen with that. I loved it because it's just so, it's dark, it's gritty, and I love the certain liberties that the author took with this story. It is not a direct copy and paste from the who wrote the original story, the original dark fairy tale, and it's not a copy and paste of the Disney fairy tale. So I really appreciate it, the liberties that the author took with this, and I ended up giving this a 4 stars. Alright, next up we have One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. And someone described this as a mix between The Breakfast Club and Pretty Little Liars, which is originally the reason that I picked it up, because I'm impartial to The Breakfast Club. I think it's a good movie. I'll probably watch it again after saying this, but I love the Pretty Little Liars series with all of my heart. I have books 1 through 8 that I have to read, and I know it's a 16-book series. I have books 1 through 8 that I need to read and see if I love the book series as well, but I am absolutely in love with the television show. So someone saying that this is The Breakfast Club, which is a cool movie mixed with Pretty Little Liars, had me hooked. So essentially, you have these 4 characters that are very much not friends. 2 of them kind of are, but for the most part, no. They operate in very different worlds. So you have Bronwyn the Brain is Yale-bound, never breaks a rule. Addie the Beauty is a picture-perfect homecoming queen. Nate the criminal is already on probation for dealing. Cooper the athlete is the all-star baseball pitcher. And Simon the outcast is the creator of Bayview High's notorious gossip app. And they all walk into detention, so it's 5 of them, they all walk into detention, and Simon never makes it out of the classroom. So by the end of the detention, Simon is dead, and the 4 that are left, Bronwyn, Nate, Addie, and Cooper, are prime suspects in his murder. And so it bounces back and forth between the 4 remaining students in the classroom's perspective, and it was really enjoyable. I found the ending to be a wee bit of a cop-out. Just a wee bit of a cop-out. I ended up giving this one a 3 stars. Like I said, not bad, but, you know, not my favorite. Next, I finished This Adventure Ends by Emma Mills. I'd heard a lot of things about Emma Mills, like she's a great contemporary writer, she great blah 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 blah, and so I was like, you know what, let me pick up one of her books, and I picked up, this is gonna sound really shallow, I picked up the prettiest one because I couldn't decide which story I want to go with first, and I'm so glad that I picked up This Adventure Ends. It starts with Sloane, I believe that's her name, Sloane, who, did they move? Yeah, she moves from New York to Florida, and she's not expecting to like fall in with any kind of group of friends. She's kind of content to riding solo for the remainder of the year, but then she kind of finds herself in a situation where she gains this new friend instantly, and with this new friend comes her twin brother as well. And it's all about her kind of finding out how she fits in this friend group, finding out like they have all these different secrets, and then she goes on this journey with her dad, who is also dealing with his own stuff, goes on this journey with her dad to help reclaim something for one of her new best friends. So I loved it. Emma Mills, and I've read 2 Emma Mills books now, Foolish Hearts, which is going to be my February wrap-up, just writes such engrossing characters. And this main character, sometimes I was very frustrated with her, and that seems to be a theme. But Emma Mills writes such amazing friendships and such really good romances too. They're not cringeworthy, and you have to really like work for them in a way. And those are the types of romances I love, where it's completely unexpected and it just happens because the two characters are literally like friends. You know what I mean? But that's definitely one of Emma Mill's strengths, is writing friendships and writing interesting and dynamic and flawed main characters in a way that makes you relate to them but also not hate them at the same time. And I gave this one a 5 stars. Next, that I finished, I spent like most of January reading, is this beast of a book, Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I'm going to try and describe this series better than I described it in my February TBR. This is a long synopsis. In a secret world where half-angel warriors are sworn to fight demons, parabatai is a sacred word. A parabatai is your partner in battle. A parabatai is your best friend. Parabatai can be everything to each other, but they can never fall in love. Emma Carstairs is a warrior, a shadow hunter, and the best in her generation. She lives for battle. Shoulder to shoulder with her parabatai, Julian Blackthorn, she patrols the streets of Los Angeles where vampires party on the Sunset Strip and fairies, the most powerful of supernatural creatures, teeter on the edge of open war with shadow hunters. When the bodies of humans and fairies turn up murdered in the same way Emma's parents were when she was a child, an uneasy alliance is formed. This is Emma's chance for revenge, and Julian's chance to get back his brother Mark, who is being held prisoner by the fairy courts. All Emma, Mark, and Julian have to do is solve the murders within 2 weeks, and before the murderer targets them. Their search takes Emma from sea caves full of sorcery to a dark lottery where death is dispensed, and each clue she unravels uncovers more secrets. What has Julian been hiding from her all these years? Why does Shadowhunter Law forbid Parabatai to fall in love? Who really killed her parents? And can she bear to know the truth? I really enjoy this so much. Oh my goodness. I missed the Shadowhunter world, and I didn't realize how much I missed the Shadowhunter world until I was about halfway through this book. And I was like, wow, I really missed this entire universe and everything that comes with it. And why did it take me so long to pick up this book and read it? Why? So yeah, I really love the plot twist. I really love all the characters. Cassandra Clare, one, writes excellent forbidden romances. Oh my goodness. I don't know where she gained that skill from, but wow. She's also a master at giving you a cast of characters and dispensing the story kind of sort of evenly between them. Like, it obviously, you know, centers around Emma and Julian, but you also get so much perspective from the other characters, especially the younger Blackthorns, Julian's younger siblings, as well as Christina, who's a character in here who's visiting from the New Mexico Institute. And I was never confused, maybe because they're all working towards a common goal, but there's all these different side plots happening that are just so intriguing, but they don't overpower the main plot, which I can appreciate. So I ended up giving this a 4 stars. I recently finished Lord of Shadows, so I will gush about that one in my February wrap-up, and I plan on reading Queen of Air and Darkness, which is the trilogy conclusion, in March. Alright, next book I finished was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Wong. I got this in a Book of the Month box in January. It wasn't January's Book of the Month though. It was, I think it's on the back. Oh, it was June 2018, but I got it as an add-on for $10. I'm not sponsored by Book of the Month, but hey, if you want to sponsor me, that's great. But if you go down below into my description box, you'll find a code if you want a discount off your first purchase or whatever. So yeah, that helps me out. That's great. But The Kiss Quotient features this woman, Stella, who is on the autism spectrum, and she loves numbers. Let me see if I can pronounce her career correctly. They don't even tell you, but essentially she comes up with algorithms to predict customers' purchases, and she doesn't know much about the dating department. And then there's Michael, right? Yes. And then there's Michael, who is an escort. And so Stella hires Michael to help her figure out just how do you date, how do you do that, and how do you just like manage that entire situation. And so he's like, alright, cool, I'll help you. And it's a romance, so you can kind of tell where it's going. I really appreciated the ASD rep in here, and that was really cool. It's an Own Voices novel, and the author is both Asian and on the autism spectrum, and the main woman protagonist is Asian and on the Asperger's spectrum, and the main guy is also Asian as well. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. I finished it in 2 days. I just couldn't stop reading. It is so good. Like, I knew it was gonna be good. You know when you know a book's gonna be good, but it still surprises you at just how good it is? That was me with like so many books this month, including this one. And yeah, I gave this 5 stars. Next book I have here is Next Year in Havana by Chanel Cleaton. And this is about, it follows a dual perspective. So there's a grandmother who you follow in Havana 1958, Eliza, and then you follow her granddaughter Marisol in Miami, or she's from Miami, in 2017, and it is shortly after Eliza, in 2017, it's shortly after Eliza has passed away, and she has instructed Marisol, her granddaughter, that she wants her ashes spread somewhere in Havana, because she wants to be able to return to Havana. So that is Marisol's storyline. That's what we're following Marisol doing. She's also dealing with her own romance as well, but just kind of reconciling the Havana and the grandmother that her grandmother told her about, and the grandmother that she knew, with the Havana that she's experiencing for the first time herself, and also what she's learning about her grandmother through her grandmother's best friends and different people who knew her grandmother when her grandmother was younger and lived in Havana. And then in the grandmother's perspective, in Eliza's timeline in 1958, you're seeing her go through Havana in a time where it's under like extreme turmoil. It's going through this intense revolution, and she also has like this romance that's happening. I learned a lot about Cuba. I will say I learned a lot about Cuba and just that whole period between before Castro like came to power. So it was very interesting. I loved this book. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. Also, look at this cover. I gave it 5 stars. She has another book coming out. I believe it's How We Left Cuba or something like that, coming out sometime in late spring, early summer, I believe. And so I will definitely be picking that up because it follows one of the grandmother's sisters. So that's really cool. Whew. All right, home stretch. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more books to talk about. Next, I finished Challenger Deep by Neal Shusterman. This was another book where I was like, this is probably going to be really good, but I didn't expect how good it was actually going to be. And this follows, I'm just going to read the back and then I'll dive into like, you know, things. Caden Bosch is on a ship that's headed for the deepest point on Earth, Challenger Deep, the southern part of the Marianas Trench. Caden Bosch is a brilliant high school student whose friends are starting to notice his odd behavior. Caden Bosch is designated the ship's artist in residence to document the journey with images. Caden Bosch pretends to join the school track team but spends his days walking for miles, absorbed by the thoughts in his head. Caden Bosch is split between his alliance to the captain and the allure of mutiny. Caden Bosch is torn. A captivating and powerful novel that lingers long before the last page, Challenger Deep is a heartfelt tour de force by one of today's most admired writers for teens. This deals heavily with mental illness, and I don't want to say specifically which mental illness because I feel like that'll give it away in the beginning, but just that's a trigger warning definitely to, if you're going to pick this up, and I highly recommend that everyone does, make sure that you're in a proper headspace. It was amazing. I will say the first 100 pages, maybe, first like 50 to 100 pages, I was real confused. Maybe not the 100. What happens to page 100? What's happening? I would say the first 50 pages. Yeah. The first 50 pages, I was real confused. I was like, what is happening? Where are we? Who is this? But you have to push through the first 50 pages and you see that the first 50 to 100 pages is setting a lot of groundwork for what the story is actually about and what's happening and what's going to happen later on. Don't just skim through the first 50 to 100 pages because it's like, oh, I need to get to the, no, you need to be confused. You need to be confused in order to know what the hell is happening in this book. I loved it. I'll probably read it again. I won't have the same experience because I know what happened, but I'll read it again. But yeah, I gave this a 5 stars. I had a lot of 5 stars in January, which is like really nice. Stay tuned for my February wrap up because I don't know what happens with me. But yeah, 5 stars all around. Would definitely recommend. We'll definitely be reading again at some point. Next book I finished was Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. This is a sequel in the Renegades series, so I'm not going to give you what happens in this one because spoilers. But essentially, the Renegades series follows this world where it's kind of a dystopian in a way. So there was this huge age of anarchy where the government fell, everything fell, police force, like everything went to madness. And there are these people called prodigies who have these special abilities. Think of the Enhanced in MCU, or even metahumans in the DC universe. And so as a prodigy, you have, I guess, 3 choices. You can either just live your life as a person and not, you know, use your powers, or you can become a renegade, which is the superheroes and kind of the government and the police force and the judicial system wrapped into one, like, being, if you will. Or you can become an anarchist, which most people don't do because why would you do that? And this follows Nova, who is the niece of Ace Anarchy, and he was the, like, villain to beat during the Age of Anarchy. And you follow Adrian, who is the son of 2 of the, kind of the 2 leaders of the Renegades. They're like on the council, the Dread Warden and then Captain Chromium, I believe is how you pronounce that. And essentially what happens is that Nova decides she is going to go undercover as a renegade to try and, like, you know, do evil mastermind supervillain stuff. And so that's pretty cool. I really enjoyed Renegades, but that's like neither here nor there because we're talking about Arch Enemies. This was originally going to be a duology, so this was going to be the last book in the series, but then it was announced that it's going to be a trilogy. This is definitely, it's a lot shorter than Renegades. This is definitely a middle book, and that's not a bad thing. It did its job as a middle book. It expanded on a lot of the world, it expanded on a lot of the characters, their interactions, it expanded on a lot of the hints and foreshadowing that happens in Renegades. And so it does a good job of tying up a lot of loose ends that you get in Renegades while also leaving, I guess, more untied ends. What? While also leaving more loose ends to be tied up in the 3rd book, which the title that was recently released is called Supernova, so I'm excited to see where that is headed. Next, I read Spider-Man and Deadpool Volume 1, Isn't It Bromantic? This is another one where I probably will read this again because much like Supergirl Volume 1, I wasn't as impressed as I wanted to be. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I was confused the first, like, 15 pages, and so I reread the first 15 pages and I was less confused, and then I read along and I was like, this storyline is interesting. I like the characters, I will say. I like Deadpool as a character, I like Spider-Man as a character. I'm starting to realize that I actually really do enjoy the Spider-Verse. But this, I give it a 3 stars, but that's, I feel like, being very generous. So I might give it a 2.5. I don't know. And I might read it again. We'll see. Not bad. Just I wanted more. I don't know. I wanted more. I've been reading a lot of other characters in the Spider-Verse, and their storylines are like super intriguing. And then I got to this one, and I like Deadpool as a concept and a character, and I don't know. It was a little lukewarm for me. It was a real lukewarm for me. So I'm gonna drop it from a 3 to a 2.5. Next, I read Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. This book is absolutely hilarious. Oh my goodness. I laughed so much while reading this. Every couple of pages I was cackling. It's essentially about this boy. What's his name? Michael. especially about this boy Michael. He's an atheist. His family has just moved. He's going to this really ritzy Catholic school, and he falls in with a group of kids who don't necessarily vibe well with how their Catholic school is run. They have this group called Heretics Anonymous, and so Heretics Anonymous is where Michael can be an atheist, Lucy can be an outspoken feminist, Avi can be Jewish and gay, Max can wear whatever he wants, and Eden can practice paganism. And they essentially go on this quest to not unearth, kind of expose the hypocrisy and all the I'm just gonna say hypocrisy that is happening in their Catholic school, and it goes a little bit too far and they gotta reel it back a bit, but I really thoroughly enjoyed this. She has a new book coming out. Oh, let's call it a Doomsday. It's coming out sometime this year. Give me a second. August 6th. So I will definitely be picking that up, and hopefully it's as funny as this one. And I gave Heretics Anonymous 4 stars. So, second to last book that I read in the month of January, woo! The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Pekkanen. So good. Oh my, I didn't know what to expect. The plot twist is unbelievable. It's amazing. This is such a well-crafted book. I can't say anything because everything's a spoiler, if that makes sense. And so I'm just gonna tell you that it's amazing. All your guesses are probably wrong about what it's about, and I would definitely recommend this. I gave it a 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to their second book, which I'll probably read in March, called Anonymous Girl. It came out earlier this year. But yeah, go pick this up and go read it. It's so good. Last and final book that I read in January, like literally finished it before midnight, January 31st, is A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir, which is the sequel to An Ember in the Ashes, which currently isn't behind me. And I'm just gonna say what An Ember in the Ashes is about because I can't tell you what this is about because spoilers. So An Ember in the Ashes, it's this fantasy world, it's a fantasy book, fantasy world that's really heavily based off of Roman military, but it has aspects of, I believe, Indian culture as well, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And so you have, what's her name? You have Leia, who is a scholar. That's her like class of people, and they're treated horribly. And I'm trying to remember like what is a spoiler and what is not a spoiler. But basically her brother gets taken and she tries to figure out where he went. And to do this, she makes a deal with this rebel people, whatever, to go undercover as a slave to this school for the military to find information, and in exchange for that information, they will help her find her brother. Right? You have Elias, who is in the military, but he doesn't want to be in the military, and they have this, it's so hard to explain when you're like trying not to give spoilers and you've already read the second book. They end up interacting, and they're kind of thrown together in a situation, and everything just goes downhill. I read the first book a while ago, so don't ask me why it took me so long to pick up this book when I had the third book, whatever. But I really enjoyed A Torch Against the Night. I don't know if I enjoyed it more than the first book. I don't know, they're kind of on equal playing fields for me. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen in the third book, which is A Reaper at the Gates. I gave this a 4 stars. Sorry that my description wasn't as cohesive as I thought, but I read the first book probably over a year ago. So yeah, those are the books that I read in January. This is not all of them. I can't hold all 17. I'm not even going to try and hold all 17. But yeah, it was a really good reading month. I read a lot that I wanted to read for a while. I'm gonna put these down now. I read a lot that has been on my TBR that I kind of just forgot about, and I'm glad that I finally picked it up. I read a lot of books that I wasn't sure about going into, and I ended up really enjoying them, like Challenger Deep and Next Year in Havana and Heretics Anonymous. So I think that it was overall a very successful month. But yeah, if you like this video and you want to see more, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. What did you read in January that you really enjoyed? What was a 5-star book for you? Leave in the comment below and I'll check it out and see if I want to add it to my TBR. Don't forget to share this video with all of your bookish friends who love book things. Oh, also subscribe. Click the little bell, little notification bell, so you will be notified every time I upload a video. I say this every time I come back from a hiatus, but I am trying to get more videos out. Look out for some book hauls that'll be coming out, and we are heading into March. So all of my end of February videos will be coming up, including my February book hauls, my February wrap up, and then my March TBR. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.